broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU.
The Treasure Coast longest-running local talk radio show is on the air. The Treasure Coast Forum. Get interested, get educated, get involved. Give us a call with your opinions at 220-9788. And here's your host of the Treasure Coast Forum.
Hello. This is Treasure Coast Forum.
Yes.
Martin County's Heritage Station.
Right. And you are?
I am Jamie, and I'm here with Mr. Frank.
And right. And we've got Misty Girton on the line. Go ahead, Misty.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. Good to have you here on our show. It's good to talk with you. And I understand you have an important message for our listening audience.
Yes, the City of Stuart telephone lines, incoming lines, are down. We do want to ensure everyone that 911 services are operational. So any emergency calls, still 911 is going to get you to the Stuart Police Department or the Stuart Fire Department. And if anyone has any non-emergency telephone calls that they'd like to make to the Stuart Police Department, there is a working line, and that line is 772-600-0119. And let me repeat that. It's 772-600-0119.
Right. Okay. So do we know what happened? I mean, the building get hit by lightning?
I was asked if we paid our phone bill, and we definitely did that.
Okay, good. It's probably an auto pay, right?
we are actually switching carriers. We've been with a company for almost 20 years, according to my IT department. And the decision was finally made that we needed a better service provider, someone that wasn't a third-party person. And so we're switching over to AT&T here in direct. And I guess part of what the craziness of this whole thing is that we were supposed to not be disconnected until October the 4th. They had arranged windstorm. I'm sorry, I'm not even saying the name correctly. Windstream had a forwarding order on our phones until October the 4th, but someone in the middle didn't get that message.
They missed
so
the memo. Yeah.
Today we started experiencing an issue, and so AT&T is working faster to try to get everything reconnected for us.
Oh, okay. All right. So it was a paperwork issue, and somebody pulled the plug early. So,
yeah. Surprise.
Whoops. Oh, gee willikers. Well, okay, Misty Girton, the Communications and Digital Marketing Manager for City of Stuart. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome, Frank.
And and please stay in touch with us anytime there's breaking news.
I definitely will. You two have a good evening and have a good show.
Thank you so much. All right, take care.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Right, bye-bye.
Okay.
Yes.
We've had some exciting things this week, actually. So first off, would you want to start off with Jeff Bezos' rocket?
Sure, we can talk about that.
All right. So as we've talked about previously, we saw the rocket's video about how it immediately, like how the top kind of capsule released from the rocket's body.
Right.
Specifically when it felt that there was something wrong.
Right.
Exactly.
The computer sensed there was an issue with the forward momentum of the rocket. It probably is sending a signal to the computer that the propulsion system wasn't functioning properly.
Yes.
And at that point, as soon as it lost its forward momentum, it immediately
ejected the top capsule.
And it left the rocket like a rocket on a rocket.
Exactly. Worked very well, actually. So that was good if there were any people who were present on the thing. But luckily there was just like some space, just like we could say like tools and stuff on the rocket. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Something similar to that happened with one of our American astronauts on board, the Russian Soyuz that left, I think, about a year ago. I think this happened about a year or so ago. It was leaving from Kazakhstan, where they launched to the International Space Station, and the rocket had an issue during the ascent phase, and immediately the cosmonauts and the astronaut found themselves, coming back to Earth, on the parachute,
So
and it
there
was
were people present on that.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yes.
So
Oh, yes.
so it does work. But I tell you, it was a bumpy ride.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, all that money just to get the fuel and stuff, and
Right.
just
Right.
yeah.
But the
It's-
safety thing
Oh,
is
that's
that's
number one.
paramount. Yes.
That's number one.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of swerving from the rockets in space, or we got. Oh, did you see the picture of the the comet? The comet.
No.
There is a recent picture. I think so. This was like about 2 hours ago. There is a once in a lifetime, they call it, photo of a comet, and it wins an award. So each year, so there's a younger kind of astronaut person like award thing, and I don't know where it is, or yes, I'm sorry, I don't know where it is, but there's a younger astronaut thing, like competition, and each year they get like about like 3,000 photos. So this year it was actually two children, 14 years old, from China, and they got a picture of Andromeda. Now this picture was very vivid and had a lot of details in it, and so this kind of award system is for 16-year-olds and under.
Right.
So yeah, they were very
So
excited
how
about
were they
it.
able to get this picture?
I mean, they used like their telescopes, and just I mean, I know, just
Right.
that's probably a laboratory, I'm assuming, and yeah, photographer or picture of the year. So that's pretty exciting.
Right. Wow.
And
Good for
then
them.
and
Talk
then
about dedicated students, right?
oh yes,
Right.
everybody dreams of that, of
Right.
course.
Yeah.
And then oh, so this one was actually a picture of a comet that had the disconnection of the kind of tail during like mid picture. The tail of the comet was like disconnecting kind of. So the solar flares, solar winds were taking over the
Okay.
yeah, they were kind of pushing the back of the comet behind, and it was just the head, and
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Shows you how powerful those solar winds are.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so
And
those
it creates
still
these amazing auroras for us too.
oh yes, especially in Greenwich. I think it's London. That's where we like see a lot of the.
Yeah, Norway gets them. We get them. Yeah, Scandinavia, all the highly northern latitude. Yeah, I think in Iceland recently, or Greenland.
Yes, Greenland. Yeah. So
yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, and this comet actually came into our view in 2021, but now it finally left our solar system in 2022. So.
Aw.
Yeah, I know.
Where's it gonna go? No forwarding address.
Nope.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah. It was actually in Greenwich. What else? And then a photographer took a picture of that, and that was pretty exciting. So now we have a fossil. Now this fossil, is it old? 380 million years old. Okay.
That's pretty old.
It's pretty old, right? And this was in Kimberley, Australia.
Okay.
So this is actually
now do you know where that is located in Australia?
Yeah, it's like the northern part, the northern kind of northeast, west side of Australia, so northern west side, like
okay,
yeah, northwest. There we go.
Okay.
So this place, the population, which makes sense because there's fossils there. The population, 4 people per square mile.
That's pretty sparse.
That is yes. So you can
Right.
like infer that there could be a lot of findings here, and not a lot of people live there. So
Right.
obviously, not a lot is destroyed.
Fewer eyes on the prize as far as finding things. So yeah.
So this 380 million year old fossil was actually found in boulders in Australia. And so the crazy thing about this is that researchers and scientists found a fossilized heart. So the heart, it was still in contact, right? Minerals and all of the internal organs of this go-go fish, they called it the go-go fish, who existed 380 million years ago. So this fish had its organs preserved, which is very interesting because that they don't normally find organs preserved. They just find like the skeleton of the fish or something like that. Yeah. So
was it stuck in what, frozen permafrost or something like that, right?
Just a boulder.
Inside the boulder.
In the boulder, yeah. There was like, it was very interesting. It was very like peculiar because the fish had a perfect outline. It's just like how they built the dinosaurs, right? To like museums and stuff.
Right.
This is how this
like
fish
a mold.
looked. Yes, exactly. A mold, exactly. That's the perfect.
Wow.
Yeah. So this fish is actually called a placoderms, and they were one of the first fish to have developed jaws and teeth. Obviously, they were very primitive, so they weren't as how we look today and how we see fish today.
Right.
However, this was one of the first class of families to have developed these primitive kind of parts to our body.
Right.
Which kind of helps with our evolution and stuff. And so another interesting thing when I learned about in anatomy and physiology, so I understand this a little more, the heart chambers, heart was fully intact. I mean, obviously didn't have it wasn't alive, but it was
still there.
Yes, it was still there, still preserved. So this is very interesting.
So they're able to get DNA then you're talking about.
Oh yeah, they're tracing it to like how we developed and how we developed our jaws and teeth and how also fish developed.
So
like,
when
with
was
their
this
little
discovery
fins.
made?
This was about, I think, this is actually very recent. It was actually posted 2 hours ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So it's very, very new.
But I wonder how long it takes to run DNA information through a computer to get specific data back.
Yeah, like what type of fish it was and stuff like that.
Right.
Yes. I mean,
wow.
Yeah. She's just it was reported that they were like, we couldn't believe it. So exciting. Such an amazing discovery.
Yeah. Wow. That is breaking news.
Yeah.
Right.
A small town in Australia. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And so the chambers of the heart. So this fish had one upper chamber and one lower chamber. So right now in our heart, in human heart,
have left chamber and right chamber.
Yes. So we have pretty much left chamber, right chamber. So it looked very similar to our heart and how the human how our heart is kind of structured, and with the aortic
valve,
yes, and the veins and the muscles and stuff the veins and stuff, and it was very similar. It's very interesting.
Wow.
Yes, I know.
Wow.
I know. In 380 million years old, how
does that happen?
I don't even know. Just shows how, it seems like we changed so much, but it's just like the slightest bit of evolution.
Right, but to be preserved that long,
oh my goodness,
is mind-numbing.
Exactly, mind-boggling. So also, which makes sense in how it was preserved because not a lot of humans there. I mean, we've known that a lot of fossils have been destroyed because of humans. I mean, we built structures on, not destroyed, but not discovered.
Well, people pick up things and they go, well, this will look good on my on my dresser, and they'll just find stuff and
shark teeth and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they it's just they don't think of it as an artifact. They think it's just kind of a curiosity, and this is kind of fun. I'll take this home. And there's no malice to it, but they're just either not adding to the knowledge base, for finding things, or destroying stuff inadvertently. But it happens. So man does destroy things by accident.
Oh yeah, there's there's no
just
intent in it
by virtue of just being.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what else we got. You got anything you want?
Well, we've got some interesting things going on with Saturn's rings. We talked about that a little bit the last week.
Oh, right? Yeah, about how they have diamonds or something.
Well, well, I don't know. Did we touch on the diamonds? Although that's an interesting thing. There was recently. It's funny you should mention diamonds. There was a meteorite that was discovered that came here from parts elsewhere. Right. But an entirely different structure had so diamond is when you take carbon and put it under a lot of pressure, stress, pressure, you get diamonds, right?
Yep.
In fact, we can make artificial diamonds to this day. Same, but they're small chips, but we can do it.
Okay.
But this is a diamond with a different structure. So it's like, whoa, really different.
Okay.
But it's a diamond from intergalactic space, right? From somewhere, parts elsewhere. So that was kind of neat. They just recently uncovered that, and they're still scratching their heads trying to figure out what the mechanical process was to create
like what type of pressures and just
everything.
I mean,
or that particular whatever the chemistry was for that carbon atoms, or maybe it was just different enough, or the heat was different enough or something to create a entirely different diamond shaped structure.
Oh, okay. So wow, okay, so it's kind of like it's a foreign diamond, I guess.
Very foreign. It's not from this planet. It's not from this world.
So depiction of an alien. Oh wow. Okay. Sorry, that just popped over my mind. Wow.
So,
okay. Oh my goodness.
So that's kind of.
So could we make it then? Do you think we could?
Well, I think we're just trying to understand what the process was that made that diamond and what gave it its unique
structure.
It's geometric structure. It's geometrically different than a traditional Earth diamond.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Right? So that's pretty wild.
Imagine how much rarer that is,
you couldn't even quantify a value.
Oh yeah.
Totally priceless.
Oh,
couldn't even give it a value.
It's like an artifact or something.
It's beyond priceless. Yeah. So but Saturn's got some stuff going on in its rings, but my computer's running slow, so I don't know if I can open the story up. But here it is. The swirling around the planet's equators, the rings of Saturn are a dead giveaway that the planet is spinning at a tilt. So we know that, right? And the belted giant rotates 26.7 degree angle relative to the plane in which it orbits the sun. And astronomers have long speculated that this tilt comes from gravitational interactions with its neighbor Neptune. And as Saturn's tilt precedes like a spinning top at nearly the same rate as the orbit of Neptune. But they're now thinking that maybe a planet may have, or a planetary body may have struck Saturn, creating that tilt.
Oh yeah.
So,
and then there's actually most all planets obviously all planets have a tilt. That's what makes seasons. But
not all planets.
Not all planets.
Not all planets, but
some planets.
So our planet, because we got hit by, we have a slight tilt.
Yes.
And we got hit by trying to think of the name of the celestial body. I think it was called Theo or something like that.
It was like almost the size of Earth, I think, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good size. Yes. And so they think that the moon is actually composed of this body mixed with the Earth, because the Earth at that time was kind of a gelatinous blob, right? Of just molten stuff.
Yep.
Right. And so they got hit by this other object, and it spun off some of the Earth, some of this other object, and then that was likely because they found Earth rocks on the moon.
Oh, okay.
So
that makes sense. That connects the dots.
Right. And yes, so that helps. Yeah, I have to turn off my phone. Sorry about that. So that's kind of interesting. So,
oh wow.
So they're thinking that in a study appearing in Science, the team proposes that Saturn, which today hosts 83 moons.
Whoa.
Right.
Can you imagine looking at that?
Wow, it's a lot of moons. once harbored at least one more, an extra satellite they named Crystallis. Together with its siblings, the researchers suggest Crystallis orbited Saturn for several billion years, pulling and tugging the planet in a way that kept its tilt. So there it is.
Okay.
In resonance with Neptune. So,
okay.
So 160 million years ago, the team estimates Crystallis became unstable and came too close to the planet in a grazing encounter that pulled the satellite apart, which created the rings we spoke about last week. So there it is. Yeah,
that makes sense. So okay, so so that process didn't happen to Earth because otherwise, then we would. Why don't we have rings?
we don't have rings because
Or do we just like? No, we don't.
We don't, because I don't think nothing ever broke apart in orbit around the Earth after. So we either had direct hits that were absorbed into the Earth.
Oh yes, that makes sense.
Right.
Yes.
So to create so basically moons are I guess debris from strikes, and we may have. So yeah, so I would think my guess is if we didn't have an atmosphere, then the Earth was just kind of molten blob. Then stuff would just hit it and would be absorbed into Earth as part of Earth.
Isn't that what happened with the dinosaurs? Because
they think a big asteroid hit the Earth. Probably they think near Mexico.
Right. Because then that's what makes the.
In fact, if you actually were to, and they've done it with some computer models, they've actually imaged the Earth. If you were to look at the Earth without water on it, it looks more like the moon. Because the Earth is just peppered with all kinds of craters, but because we have oceans covering like 2/3 of the planet, 80%.
More, yeah.
80% of the planet. So we don't see that so much, right? And but yeah, so apparently we've got that going on. But
wow, yeah. Okay, so let's see what else do we have. Let's see.
So anyway, so that's that story. Let me see if I can back out of this and then get back into other. Yeah. So NASA's Perseverance rover investigates geologically rich Martian terrain. So that's still going well.
Okay. Okay. So like space junk. So I read that a lot of space junk is from that's actually orbiting our Earth right now. Well, not orbiting, but like kind of floating around.
Yeah, it's orbiting. Okay. Orbiting.
Yes. Is from rockets and other other debris.
So a lot of them are dead satellites.
Yes, and then
satellites just stop working after a prescribed amount of time. Some sooner, some later. Sometimes they stop working because onboard batteries die, or they run out of fuel, or things like that. And others die because they just maybe a defect in workmanship, and they just stop working.
Yeah, and then
some of that happens shortly after they get placed up there. That just happens. So, and then we have spent rocket vehicles, because you have more than one stage to a rocket, right? You have the booster stage, which gets you out of the thick part of the atmosphere. Then you have the other stages that they layer on top of that, depending upon how far you're trying to go, and they use different size rockets and different, and all that. So the thing about those upper stages is they're not, once they go up, unless if they're in a high Earth orbit, then they'll come back down eventually, but it could take hundreds or thousands of years. If they're in low, or what they call LEO, low Earth orbit, that's what LEO is.
Okay.
Some of them are in LEO, and then they just fall back, and then they tumble, and because especially when you have a lot of solar activity, what happens? The Earth's atmosphere reacts to the solar activity, and it expands.
Whoa. Okay.
Right.
Oh, so.
Which is good and bad.
Mhm.
Bad for satellites, good for the
Yeah.
Earth.
Mhm.
So what happens is the Earth's atmosphere expands. It interferes with these low Earth orbiting satellites,
Oh,
and
okay.
it tugs on them a little bit more. And so then they fall out of orbit, or they have to boost their orbit in order to
Mhm.
stay away from that, So
Okay, and that's what happens, and
right.
they kind of
So
disconnect
the
and
things
stuff.
that are in low Earth orbit will just eventually fall back, maybe sooner.
Okay. Yeah, because there was recently, it kind of it looked like a comet, but there was a story about how this kind of like fireball, I think they called it, like
Mhm.
entered the atmosphere,
Right.
and then they said it was gonna hit like some type of ocean or like sea,
Mhm.
but then it didn't. It like kind of scurried away.
Kept going.
Yes, it
Yeah.
kept going.
Whoops.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
Generally, they're pretty good about predicting where things fall, which is good to know.
mhm.
So where are we at?
Oh,
Well,
yeah. Oh,
we are at our regulation break time. So let's take this opportunity to take a regulation timeout, and we will return right after these important messages.
And we're back. Hello, hello, hello.
Right. You're listening to WSTU 1450, Martin County's Heritage Station, Treasure Coast Forum. We thank you for tuning us in, being a part of this show with us.
Our journey.
And yes. And on this day in history, British forces under General William Howe occupy New York City. Wonder how that would go today. All right.
Okay.
And anyways, William Howard Taft, the 27th U.S. president and only president to also serve as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, was born in Cincinnati, Ohio on this date in 1857. And in 1858, Butterfield Overland Mail Company begins the first mail delivery to the Pacific Coast, with stagecoaches running between Tipton, Missouri, and San Francisco. And that happened on this date in 1858.
Stagecoaches.
Stagecoaches. You know what a stagecoach is?
I've heard of the term, but I forgot. I forgot what it means.
They are a really neat shaped wheeled cart that people would ride on and be drawn by horses.
Okay, I've heard of that before.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And it's
Horses.
always, one driver, and they had another driver, another guy on top, generally with a rifle,
Oh,
And
yes.
that's for a couple reasons: security,
Mhm.
also in case there were animals that were in their way.
Oh yeah, there you go.
But yeah, because they're making some distance, right?
Mhm.
And then the stagecoaches, you can book a ride inside. It's like a car cabin inside, right?
That was
But well
before
before cars,
Okay.
well before cars. And
goodness.
so the original cars looked a little bit like stagecoaches with engines,
Oh right, because
Yeah.
that's how
Mhm.
evolution. I
Right. Well,
guess, right?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the design they had to work with. So,
Back then, okay, so I went to a car museum last year for state assembly for YIG
yeah.
because that was like the whole
Mm.
the conglomeration of all the schools competing,
Mm.
and we went to a car museum, and it was a very like old car museum,
Mm.
and the cars back then they looked very big.
Right.
They looked like they looked so compared to so like comparing like 70-year-old or 70s phones, they were big and bulky and whatever kind of. Now you have like a little
Right.
iPhone just out you're available, just every app and whatever.
Right.
So it kind of looked like that, like the shell of something that was like incredible, but
Right.
then like kind of like stick shift inside and not very like advanced. Very, very cool though. I would love to see how those actually looked on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's cool stuff. Cool stuff.
Mhm.
And that took place in 1858. The first mail delivery, but that was important,
Mhm.
to carry the mail.
Yeah, yeah.
And 1950, on this date, during the Korean War, UN forces led by the U.S. Marines land in Incheon. And 2001, on this date, President George W. Bush names Osama bin Laden as the prime suspect in the September 11th terrorist attacks and warns Americans that a long, hard war against terrorism lies ahead. And
Mhm. Yeah.
unfortunately, he was right.
Funny thing you mentioned South Korea. I am right now just first few pages because I just got this from the Blake Library. I started a book about the Korean War.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting that you brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, it was actually I really like the book. It's called like I think it's like what happened, or like I think it's like titled like what happened in the Korean War and how
Right.
America got involved and stuff. And I'm very excited to read it, and I will definitely mention some of the information on
Good.
the radio show. Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Good. We'll look forward to that.
Very big book, but
Nice.
yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Good reading.
Yes.
All right. Well, good. So there you go. So yeah, Incheon. Here's a couple of little snippets of information about that period of time. The 70-year-old Douglas MacArthur came up with a plan that was actually audacity in itself. He proposed a seaborne invasion behind the red lines in Incheon, a port on the northwest coast of South Korea, just 25 miles from the capital, Seoul. We drew up every conceivable natural and geographic handicap, and Incheon had them all. It's one of MacArthur's military aids. Those hazards included deadly 30-foot tides, dangerous currents, and a harbor surrounded by seawalls. MacArthur's naval chief could muster no better endorsement than a plan that was not impossible. And MacArthur kept his own counsel, puffing constantly on his trademark corncob pipe. But yeah, the Marines slammed ashore on Incheon for breathtaking boldness. The assault ranked alongside Washington's crossing of the Delaware. So pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All
Historic.
right. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Frank, did you do any what is it called when you go study in a different country for a little while?
You
Like
study in another country?
Yeah, like I forgot what it was called, but like so basically it could be school sponsored or just you by yourself. You go to a
Right.
country like the UK or whatever, South Korea, whatever, and you kind of indulge in the culture for a bit. And
Right.
I forgot what it was called. I don't know the term, but
There is a term for, you're exactly right. In some universities, various colleges have relationships with schools abroad. So you can
studying abroad. There you go. Yeah.
studying abroad, and you can actually get school credit within the local university or college
hmm
and still study abroad
I
with
would.
one of those, educational facilities that has a relationship with the one that you go to,
hmm
your domestic one. So,
I
yeah,
would love to study abroad in South Korea.
right.
Very far away, but the technology, just
Mm,
everything, especially because they're
the,
very like they're very much effective in our economy today,
mhm.
and just like
And
they're
the good energy, a lot of positive, yeah, and a lot
yeah.
of technology energy. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yes, and we get a lot of resources from there, and I'm actually trying to learn Korean.
Are you really?
Yes, so
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, the Korean symbols, they look so much different than the Chinese symbols.
oh my goodness,
It's
yes, it's
entirely different.
they say it's one of the easiest languages to learn how to read because
Wow, really?
yeah, or sorry, like language writing form,
Mm, mm,
because the system they use is Hangul, which is just like um the characters that they write is
mm,
that's what it's called.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it took it like there's all these videos on YouTube that say, oh, learn Korean in 20 minutes. You're like, learn how to read Korean in 20 minutes, because it's actually one of the most simple to learn. Yeah.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
don't think I could do it, but
oh, I think you
I
could.
look at those all the because they're like glyphs almost,
Mm-hmm.
the characters, and I know, um, you know with the Western style letters and that we assign sounds to,
Mm-hmm.
um, entirely different way to form words,
Yes. Yes,
whereas they.
exactly. So, the thing about Korean is it's mostly sound based. So,
Mm,
so a good majority of the like letters have like e, ah, like those type of sounds.
mm,
But in English, b,
mm.
c, just
Right.
like dog.
Right. There are some sounds that, for example, I think the Germans and the Chinese both have problems with, and that's the letter V. They can't make the V sound because
They don't use it.
they
Yeah,
don't use it in any of their spoken words. Yeah.
yeah, like or f. F is
Mm-hmm.
one too,
Mm-hmm.
because how they sound. Like the like Philippines instead of the Philippines. They
Right.
say like that.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's and I kind of wanted to challenge myself because I
That
wanted.
would be a challenge. It's good to challenge yourself.
Oh yes, oh
Yeah.
yes. But Chinese actually it interests me the most because of how like symbols mean different words. Like like a symbol not as specifically like a like a letter per letter kind of like
Mm-hmm.
word. It's more like
Mm-hmm.
a symbol meaning peace, or like this means river, and that interests me very much. But
Interesting.
yeah, so yeah, that's
Very
what I've been
good.
doing with my spare time.
Learning Korean.
Yes.
Now, do North Koreans speak differently than South Koreans, or the
They
language
have
is pretty much the same, or is it colloquially different?
they have it is okay. So there are different dialects of Korean in
Mhm,
South Korea, throughout Korea, like in Busan and Seoul, which is
mhm,
two different cities, or yeah, cities in South Korea. They
mhm.
use they pretty much have the same language, but sometimes different words are used other than others.
Okay,
So yeah, but they pretty much have the same like letters and words and phrases, stuff like that. And then North Korea has a different accent. So
right.
what happens a lot of times from when people come from North Korea to South Korea, if they make it.
Yeah, if they, assuming, yeah. So
Yes.
assuming they survive. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Just the perseverance that they had.
There
And
was a story I read not too long ago, and I guess it happened a couple of years ago, but the story was re-released recently,
Mhm.
and it was about a North Korean guard that decided to defect, and during the process of him, because he was one of the border guards,
Mhm. Oh yes. Oh yes.
he got shot at by fellow North Koreans.
Oh my
He got
goodness.
hit 6 times and he still managed to crawl
To the border.
to the border, and so they waited a few hours. The South Koreans were watching him. They saw all this take place,
God,
but
yeah.
they waited till nightfall
Yep.
and helped him across. He just laid there and bled for a few hours until they were able to get to him, and he still survived.
Incredible,
right?
incredible.
What a story.
Oh my, and it's just it's so mind-boggling to me and insane that there's a precious line between North Korea and South Korea,
Right.
just two totally separate societies.
Right.
Like I can't even.
Have you seen the satellite pictures?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Right. So this is something for you following at home. If you ever have an opportunity to do this, Google Earth a satellite image of the Korean Peninsula, and you can see which part was notably, and especially nighttime view. You want to do it at night, and look at it because South Korea is all lit up, and North Korea is really in the dark.
Yeah, this black blob.
Yeah, yeah, just amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
really.
And then, oh my goodness, I always see these people on YouTube, who like have a trip to. Are we gonna have a trip to North Korea, and it's very funny how they or it's very interesting how they only show certain images of like this little tiny city, but then actually this most insane thing I've ever saw was this person who was videotaping. They're on YouTube, whatever, very risky, but they're videotaping, and then this like a security guard or someone of higher authority, I guess, came over to this person who cleans rocks, right? Because there's a job in North Korea where you clean rocks. There's this person of higher authority came over to the person who cleans the rocks and says, you gotta move because it looks bad that this person, is getting maybe paid like maybe, I don't know the wages, but very low, and is cleaning rocks. Like that just shows how low
menial the work is.
Exactly, just to do any type of work.
Right. Okay. Let's toss it to Rocky and Bullwinkle.
And now, hey Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. See, nothing up my sleeve. Presto. Wrong hat.
And now it's time to meet Mr. Peabody.
Okay, that was our second break, and we are back.
We are indeed. just when you thought it was safe, they're back.
Yep. All right. Yeah, my
All right.
teachers my teachers always used to tell me when people are overly confident,
Right.
that's when they
Right.
don't. That's when
They probably
succeed.
don't really know. They're yes, people that know what's going on. I always say there are people that know what's going on and
Mhm.
people that think they know what's going on. If you
Yep.
believe that you know what's going on, you really belong in the group of people that think they know what's going on. So
Yep.
I suspect that that's probably closer to the reality of the situation, because I've been slapped into reality quite often with things that I was sure I was right.
Mhm.
And then I come to find out, well, maybe nuanced, maybe partially, but not really. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah. So it's good to know. It's just good to know things, and the more you know, the more you realize how much you want to know more.
Oh yeah, and
Right?
then the more you think you know, the more you want to know why you're wrong or why you're right. Or
Right. And it's always good to challenge your assumptions too.
oh
Um,
yes.
Speaking of which, the interesting thing, recently the governors of Florida and I think Arizona and Florida, Arizona, and Texas have
Mhm.
sent bus loads and sometimes plane loads of people to northern neighbors
Oh okay.
of immigrants.
Oh okay.
Right, people that had crossed. So what the federal government's been doing is they've been taking um, immigrants that come in across the border illegally,
Mhm.
and they process them. They put them on a bus or a plane, and they send them to Florida, for example.
Mhm. Okay.
And Jacksonville suddenly would call the governor here and say, "Hey, we've got all these immigrants that just showed up at our bus terminal. What do we do with them? What's going on? Did
Mhm.
somebody tell you?" No, we never got the heads up. We had no idea these people were coming off of airplanes, and
Oh
they
no.
just show up. And so, in order to kind of underscore and highlight that, the governor says, "Well, gee, the roads and the air traffic seems to go different ways as well." So
Mhm.
they said, let's send these very same people to the blue states where they have sanctuary cities,
Mhm.
where they
Okay.
said, where they're a sanctuary, they're welcoming. We want to protect these people that are, the downtrodden.
Mhm.
Okay, fine. So they sent them to recently, sent them to Martha's Vineyard in
In,
in Massachusetts, right?
okay.
A
Yeah.
very rich community, very affluent community.
Mhm.
Certainly, they can take care of themselves. They can probably take care of a few extra people.
Yep.
So, but the people there in Martha's Vineyard, not so happy. They send them to
Yeah.
Chicago, which is also,
Oh my goodness.
Chicago is a sanctuary city,
Mhm.
part of a sanctuary state. So, okay, send
Mhm.
them there.
Okay.
If you're a sanctuary, then be a sanctuary,
Yeah.
but they're not happy. So it's and so as a result, the governor of California, he's wanting the Department of Justice to consider major charges against American leaders um, for busing migrants to the blue states, because he thinks that they should refer to that as kidnapping.
Oh my.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's just kind of a word salad, uh, but yeah, there's a lot of nonsense going on out there, and you have to kind of try to. The hardest part for your generation and every generation before you is to be able to separate fact from fiction, and
Mhm.
and really listen to what the debates are about. Be willing to engage people that you don't agree with,
Mhm.
get their points of view, and challenge yourself,
Mhm.
because maybe you have a perspective that you think you're right, and you might move your position a little bit, uh, one way or another, and it may solidify your position even stronger. You might be able to prove your case better than the other individual,
Oh yeah. Always
right?
stay updated and just.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
so it's always good to do that, but that's essentially what politics is, and youth and
Mhm.
government should be a big part of that, to challenging, the thinking, and putting forth ideas that people can prosper from
Yes,
ultimately,
incredibly
right?
challenging.
Right.
Just very, very quick decisions. It's very stressful, but it's little moments of stress, but then it's satisfaction,
Right.
or the other side, not satisfaction, but mostly
We get
bringing,
resolution,
yes, resolution.
right, which gives you some satisfaction from that.
Yes,
So that's
yes.
true. That's true indeed. All right. Well, very good.
So, the government's paying for the sanctuaries, or
Well, the government does send some some federal aid to the states, but the problem is they are moving people around without giving the municipalities or the states the heads up.
oh, okay. Oh, so they're not
Yeah, it's
prepared for
like
this, and it's
nobody. There's no preparation. So
mhm.
this what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So they say, all right, well, you want to play this way? That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna send these people your way. See how you like it, because it's okay, to say, okay, well, we want to have, a more inclusive society, and come bring your, all these people across the border. Great, but don't bring them to my community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
that's where
that's what
it gets dicey. And
that's where the problem is. So it's okay to do it if you're speaking
yeah.
philosophically.
Yes, it's a
But
good idea. It's
but
good
when you want to put
intentions.
it into application, it's a whole nother world. And we're
Yep.
going to have to leave it there, but we'll be back again next week right here on Treasure Coast Forum. We thank you for listening. Good night.